Hi, I'm Sarah, and today I'm going to show you how to apply a fresh top coat to your craft art wood countertops. I actually work at craft art and have for years, and I tell people a dozen times a day how easy it is to apply a fresh top coat. And so today I'm going to put my money where my mouth is, and I'm going to show you on my very own craft art countertops in my very own home. Here we go. So as you can see, I've prepped my whole kitchen. I've put blue painter's tape around everywhere the countertop touches. I even did it just under the countertop. I also put down a drop cloth by the areas I'm going to be working. I turned off any fans that we had in this room and in the next room over. Fans can turn up dust, and then that dust can land on your new finish. So now I'm going to show you the products that we're going to use today to add a top coat to your craft art wood countertop. First things first, you're going to need to get Waterlox Original Sealer Finish and Waterlox Original Satin Finish. You can find on our website or on our application of a fresh top coat instructions just the quantity that you're going to need. Also, you're going to need sandpaper, a sanding block, a tack cloth, some clean, dry cotton rags. You can actually buy these at hardware stores, or if you're like me, you can cut up one of your husband's shirts that you accidentally dyed a little bit pink. I'm going to use a face mask because of using the Waterlox oil. I'm going to use the face mask every time I work with the oil, and the safety glasses. I chose the Scotch Blue Painter's tape, nitrile gloves, drop cloth, a short bristled paint pad, and don't get the one with the styrofoam because the Waterlox can actually damage the styrofoam while you're using it, so you don't want to come across that. And a paint tray. So now you're ready to start sanding. You're going to start in the center of your countertop, and you're going to go in 1 to 2 foot strokes. I'm starting with a 320 grit sandpaper. We recommend you start with a 320, especially if you don't have any major damage and you're just straightforward applying a fresh top coat. If you have scratches and things like that, you can watch our scratch removal video, and you can do those steps now. Or you can just use a 220 grit sandpaper and take out those scratches at this step. But for me, I don't have any scratches I'm worried about. I just want a fresh top coat to keep up the waterproofing. So I'm going to use my 320 in 1 to 2 foot stretches here, all the way down this 12-foot run over by my sink on all the surfaces. And don't worry about your edges for now. You can come back and do those later if you have a more elaborate edge profile. I just have an eased edge, which is just this nice rounded edge. So what I can actually do is use my 320 and sand in the same way, 1 to 2 foot strokes, just like that. Really simple. Before I did this, I actually cleaned my countertops really well. You can watch our video on how we recommend you clean your wood countertops too. I cleaned and dried my countertops. You can actually fold the sandpaper over like that so you get the edge as well. And you can see how much dust that creates. That's just with the weight of your hand, so there's no need to push really hard because you can actually create some unevenness when you push too hard. I'm all done sanding, and this is about the amount of dust you can expect to see. You can tell it's not a lot of dust. There's just a little bit on the surface. Once you finish sanding, you're ready to clean it with your cotton rags or your cut up t-shirts. Sorry, honey. You want to get all the debris off, so you go over it completely with the rag first, all over the sides, the top. If you have any turns in your countertop, you want to be sure and get in there too. At this point, if you notice any scratches or problem areas that you missed, you can still go back and do the scratch removal instructions at this step as well. I'm going ahead and putting on my gloves because now I'm going to use the tack cloth, and it's really sticky. So I'm going to go ahead and use my gloves, why not? You can use the whole thing. They usually come in packs. You can get a bunch. This step is actually really important because the tech cloth gets off all the little debris that the cotton cloth misses. So anything that's left on the surface when you start applying the oil is there for good. So you can't mess around with this step. You really have to use a tack cloth. Don't skip here. When you go to work with your Waterlox products, you want to wear your glasses. Oh, which I left over here, sorry. Okay, you want to wear your glasses, your safety glasses. And I'm actually also going to wear a face mask. Just so if you can't hear me for a second, I'm going to use 50% of the Waterlox Original Satin Finish and 50% of the Waterlox Original Sealer Finish. Mixing them together will give you a self-leveling finish, so it does the work for you when you mix them together. Also, if you can hear me, I'm using a glass measuring cup. You could use a glass bowl, just be sure, and I actually recommend using glass because you're less likely to damage the container itself. I've got my rag handy here for any drips, which is good because we've got some drips. Alright, so the first coat is just to get your top soaked. I like to start in the back corner because it's easier for me. But you don't even have to go in the grain direction here, you're just getting your whole top soaked. You want to be sure and wear tighter fitting clothing for this, not just to look good, but also because you don't want to risk dragging your shirt or your sleeve through the oil, because that could mean you have to start over. At this step, it's not as crucial because this is not your final drag over. You're just getting the top wet right now. But be sure you're not wearing something that's going to drag in the oil. Now I'm going to do my, what I call the final coat. Even though I'm not really adding anything to it, I'm just dragging my paint pad across the top to get the layer completely even. So I'm going to go all the way down the whole length of my top here. This is a 12-foot run that I've got on this stretch. I'm going to do the whole thing. Each stroke you do, you want to, whoops, I'm going to start here like this. You want the next one to just barely overlap it. So you'll see in a second, I'm going to go all the way down just with light pressure. And then do it again. You can see it's gonna just barely overlap. And be sure and keep consistent pressure and don't stop partway through so that you don't get what's called a lap mark. A lap mark is like a noticeable hesitation line or stop line. You can see that I put a generous amount of oil, and I haven't done this one yet, so I'm going to show you here. On my own top, you can actually, you have enough oil, you can actually kind of write your name in it. And this last step will cover over what I just did. Alright, now with my extra cloth here, I'm going to go over, wrap it tight, and it's already got some oil on it. I'm actually going to add a little, I didn't have that many drips on my drip cloth, so I'm going to go and do my edge profile. If you have more of an elaborate edge profile than I do, you may take more time on this, focus a little bit on it, but mine I just need to rub back and forth and be sure it's coated and be sure there's no drips. And watch your wall too when you get back here. Okay. I like to go and give it a once over. It's not a problem if you need to go and do that top coat again. In fact, I'm going to because I actually noticed a spot that I think is kind of dry, so I'm going to do over it all one more time. Just lap it like this. So a run like this is slightly more complicated. You do just want to get it wet, like the first side. You want to get the whole thing wet with a generous coat, and it doesn't have to be perfect at first. Don't worry about it being perfect. You just need it to be wet. Be sure and bring your drip cloth. I'm going to go ahead and go around my edges because I've got some drips. You don't have to do this right now, but because I have drips, I'm going to go ahead and take care of it. And while I'm at it, I'm going to go ahead and do the interior of my sink because I do have an undermount sink. And this is one of the areas that needs the protection from the water the most. And if you remember, I had a dry spot. Whoops, I had a dry spot right about here, so I want to be sure and get plenty of oil there. I can even come back and do another coat after 24 hours after this dries. I can actually sand and do it again right there. And I'm going to do my laps just like on the other side. Only I'll stop right about there. Actually makes the sink side for me a little bit easier. Nice even pressure all the way around. I'm actually going to do it this way over here. You might have to play with it a little bit to see what works with your setup. Last stroke here. Done. I'm going to wipe the edges one more time. My cloth nice and tight. Get the oil side out. One more go around in my sink. And we're done. Thanks for watching, and I will see you again in 3 to 5 years.